In the Age of Kings, man thrived as a beacon of hope for all kinds with their wills of freedom and compassion. It seemed their capacity to love could only be matched by the might of their swords in battle. They ruled over lands for thousands of years, unchallenged by outsiders who benefited from trade and protections the kingdom could provide to the woodland elf tribes and the dwarves in the Iron Valleys. Even the spirits of the coastal islands held a respectful distance from these odd men. With each generation of kings, the once beloved rulers became more and more dissatisfied with the regions they reigned over. They grew greedy and power-hungry for weapons and coin. It seems nothing could feed the hunger devouring their minds and souls. They simply wanted more, always more. The elves were gifted with a prophetic vision, a warning of things yet to pass. The men would grow weary of their lands and plunder the lands beyond their borders. This prophecy would weigh heavily on the leaders as more and more elves came forward with claims of visions of battles and certain defeat until they were forced to make a decision, wait in defense or make the first strike. Ultimately deciding to let men seal their own fates, they sent a letter to the Table of Kings giving them information they knew they would not ignore. The promise of precious metal just beyond their walls at the base of the cold mountains, a metal more fine than any they possessed, hidden away far from all others, the location given in exchange for long-range weapons, and a few notable mages and healers from the kingdom. The kings were more than accepting of these terms and quickly gathered their able bodies to the mountains in search of the metal promised. Months of digging led to little gain, with weakened men finding it difficult to stand after long, hard days of labour, very little food to recover, and long nights on cold, hard land, until they broke through a barrier and found something they never anticipated. A large cavern of monstrous beings rested before them. Creatures once thought of as long forgotten, with time awoke from a long slumber. Goblins, an army of them hidden away from prying eyes, quickly turned towards the men with an empty-eyed violence that they could not fight against. Their fire did little against the goblins who spent these 1,000 years resting deep in the earth. Even weakened with time, the sheer numbers were too overwhelming to defeat, and so the goblins made way for the king's land to silence their noisy villages. It was not only the goblins that man had to face. The direwolves that were driven into the dark forest quickly took the opportunity to fight at the side of the monsters, to rip apart those that would hunt them. It would not be long before the wyverns would come down from the mountain peaks. Excited by the chaos below, they would be the ones to swallow the kingdoms in flames. Castles and towers laid to rubble and ash. Some escaped to nearby villages, and those survivors would seek refuge in the now abandoned mountains. But the Age of Kings would come to an abrupt end, and a new era of men who knew nothing of power